I'm gonna clip it out. Okay, that can be in the bloopers. That's it. Hey besties, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Ashley. I go by Little Cozy Reader, and I am so glad you're here. First of all, peep the sweater. It says Cat Mom. It's got my cats on it. That's Dixie Lou. That's Pumpkin. That felt weird to do that. Anyways, I feel like this is a sweater that Mama Larry would be proud of. That's what it made me think of. I was like, Queen Larry would approve. Anyways, welcome back, friends. Today's book video, I have my TBR jar here, and yes, I know this thing is the size of my head. This is just what I had them in. I'm actually going to be getting rid of these TBR prompts and making a new jar for 2025. So, ASMR sounds of me crumpling paper. What I thought we could do today with these old prompts as a way to say goodbye to them is to pull a prompt, and instead of me picking books for my TBR, I'm going to give you all a book recommendation based off of the books that I've read so far in 2024. I don't know how many prompts we're going to pull. We're going to go based on vibes. I have my computer up next to me with my story graph, and I'm going to be able to scroll through there for a minute to see what books I read, pull recommendations. But we're just going to do a couple of these and see how it goes. I think this seems like a fun idea, so let's go. Prompt number 1. Let's see. Let's do this one. Okay. Prompt number 1 is a short story collection. Short story collection. So, oh man. Oh, actually, you know what? For this one, I'm going to recommend Once Upon an Eid. This was a collection of short stories centering around the Eid holiday, and it was like a middle grade-ish young adults sort of audience, but this was so cute, and it was very informative. Like, I, as somebody who does not celebrate Eid, learned a lot about the holiday and the way that people in different countries celebrate the holiday, and it was just fascinating to me, and it was a super cool read. A lot of it was very lighthearted and fluffy and like typical holiday reads, just a different holiday. So there we go. Once Upon an Eid, a collection of short stories. Highly recommend. Prompt number 2. Let's see. Ooh, a book set in a small town. Book set in a small town. Ooh, there's a lot for these. What immediately comes to mind for me is the Cowboys of Nighthawk series by Kayla Gross. If you guys don't know, Kayla Gross has become one of my favorite authors this year, and what solidified that for me was this series. So we have Rope Me In and Rein Me In. Flip that and reverse it. Rein Me In, Rope Me In. These are books 1 and 2 of the Boys of Nighthawk series. The 3rd book comes out this coming year, and I love this series. Small town, cowboy, plus-size representation, anxiety representation, grief representation, addiction representation, emotional, spicy. Ooh, they're so good. So good. So I cannot recommend them enough. You start with Rein Me In, and then you're obsessed. So then you just read them all. Prompt number 3. On that note, it's not a video if I'm not recommending a Kayla Gross book, honestly. Trying to pull just one of these is hard. Sci-fi. I struggle with this one because I really don't read a lot of sci-fi. One of the things that I'm going to be doing during Bookmas is filming a specific video on Storygraph. I feel like there's been a lot of discourse on BookTube and BookTok and a lot of places lately about how people are starting to leave Goodreads, which I think you should. And I have been off of Goodreads almost entirely now, with the exception of the things that auto-sync on my Kindle. I have been off of Goodreads for over a year at this point. I didn't even think twice. Didn't look back. No-brainer for me. And I use Storygraph. I know a lot of people are using Fable. I might look into it, see if it's something I want to maybe use both, but I love Storygraph, and so I am actually going to be looking on a Storygraph challenge here to see if I can just find a challenge that I did for sci-fi, because that's easier for me than just knowing off the top of my head, because a lot of the books, for some reason, that I think are sci-fi are actually fantasy. I don't know why I struggle knowing the difference between the two. Okay, let's see. Iron Widow does count. Okay, so for this one, I am going to go with, I wanted to double check and make sure that it was classified as sci-fi, and it is. So I'm going to go with Iron Widow. This was really good. I actually just read this last month, I think. This was a book that I had put off for years because I was afraid of it. Knowing it was sci-fi makes a lot of sense, So I finally got to it, and it was really good, and I actually can't wait to get my hands on the second one. So Iron Widow is the one that I will pick for my sci-fi recommendation. To number 4. Oh, I got 2. Uh-oh. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one. All right, we have a fairy tale book. Okay, so I'm taking this prompt and cheating a little bit, and I feel like it'll make sense once I explain, but I'm going to go with Crossed by Emily McIntyre. So it's not a fairy tale, it's a never after, but this is the Hunchback of Notre Dame retelling, so that's what I'm going to go with for my fairy tale. So this was really good. I loved every book in this series. This one was no exception. Not my favorite, but still a really good installment in the series. So yeah, I'm going to go with Crossed by Emily McIntyre for that one. What are we on? Prompt 5? Okay. God, I keep grabbing more than one. Okay. Let's see. Sunset or sunrise on the cover. This one's easy for me. Y'all probably already know what it was going to be. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This book is absolutely everything everybody says it was. If you haven't read it yet, what are you doing? Read it. It can be read as an interconnected standalone. However, I will be the person to tell you that I highly recommend reading the trilogy in order. I think it absolutely adds to the reading experience, especially for Just for the Summer. Books 1 and 2, I feel like you'd be okay not reading them in the right order. Like if you read Yours Truly first and then read Part of Your World and then hopped to Just for the Summer, I feel like you'd be okay. But I think they are best read in order. I think you get the best reading experience, especially because Abby does such an amazing job bringing her whole world together in her like third books, final books, whatever. Read them in order, but Just for the Summer has to be my recommendation for that one. Easy peasy. What are we on? 6? Sure. I don't know if that's true, but that's what we're going to say. One word title. All right. I cannot go another moment without singing the praises of one of my favorite universes of all time. And this prompt happens to fit the most recent book that I read in that universe. And that is Devotion, which is a part of the Make Games universe by Kay, Lorraine, and Meg. And I love these books, y'all. If you like paranormal romance in any form, we've got shifters, vampires, all sorts of beings. It's why choose. We have the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse happening. So there's different series within the world. So each series is based on one of the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse in their attempt at bringing about the apocalypse. And then each series, so far at least, is a Why Choose series. So our first series, Devotion, is the novella that comes after this series. I promise you, y'all, these books are everything to me. They are the blueprint for paranormal Why Choose. They are the blueprint for plot plus spice. They are the blueprint for some of my favorite paranormal MMCs. I literally live for them, so I cannot not include them. Please go read the series. It's on Kindle Unlimited. It is the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I need more people to be reading this series so that more people can be talking about it. Y'all thought I was going to go with some easy one like Icebreaker, right? That's a good book too, but no. Got to spread the word. Doing the Lord's work out here, you know? Next up, we have last book in a series. Finishing a series. Ooh, that's a good one for this one. Okay, cool. So for this one, it's not a series, it's a duology, but I'm going to count it. I'm going to go with Celestial Monsters by Aidan Thomas. This is the second book in the Sunbearer Trials duology. Does this have like an actual duology name? The Sunbearer duology. Okay. These are phenomenal. Okay, so got this trials going on. Celestial Monsters is, of course, the end to a duology. So our first part of the duology, the Sunbearer Trials, is the trials themselves. And then our second book is sort of dealing with the consequences of those trials. And phenomenal story. I absolutely love both books. I will say I prefer the first one just because I am a sucker for trial. But I think that the second book did a really good job of wrapping up the story in a way that I was impressed with, because the story has a lot of characters. The story has a very, very broad reach in terms of things that are happening. There's like a lot of people doing a lot of different things. There's a lot of moving parts to this story. And I thought that Aiden, shocker, did a great job tying it all together. Aiden Thomas is also one of my favorite authors. I have loved everything of theirs that I've read. So highly, highly recommend the Sunbearer duology. The second one of which is Celestial Monsters. I simply have no idea what prompt we're on at this point, so I'm going to say 8. I have no idea if that's accurate, but that's what we're going to go with. Largely because I just really enjoy this. Ooh, here we go. Okay. YA thriller. YA thriller. Okay, so here's your what I could have given you, what I am going to give you situation. So what I could have given you is the naturals, but you already know about the naturals, right? So instead, I'm going to give you You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. This was really, really good. This toes the line between thriller and horror. This is YA. This is essentially about a group of kids who work at this haunted house sort of situation. And it's very reminiscent of Friday the 13th, right? So you're at like this camp sort of vibe, and the girl who's like in charge of running the camp, the owner's like really hands off, whatever. And the girl who's in charge of the camp, she's got this down to a science. Like she's rocking it. She's rocking it. And then suddenly someone dies, and you're not supposed to die tonight, right? And so it's like this whole thing of them getting chased and thinking that they're actually about to die, and like how all of that goes down when they've been simulating it. What is the difference between the simulation and reality? So super, super good. Really loved it. Actually would love to see it made into a movie. It was very much a Friday the 13th remake, essentially, just in a YA thriller version. So if you like books that toe the line between thriller and horror, obviously it's YA, so it's a little bit more toned down. This was really, really good, and I highly recommend. Did I already do this one? Does anyone know? Okay. Oh, okay. A horror mystery book written by a woman, and I immediately know what I'm doing for this. We're going to do Where Sleeping Girls Lie. This is by the same author of Ace of Spades, which came out a few years ago at this point, I think maybe in like 2021. And both of these reads were 5 stars for me. I loved Ace of Spades, and I was very excited to see that this author was putting out another book, and this book literally ate, left no crumbs, ate the house down. So good. I will say this book is big. This book is a big book. It's like 560, almost 600 pages, I think. I listened to the audiobook, highly recommend. And it didn't feel like it for the most part. There were a couple of points where it was dragging a little bit. There were a couple of points where things felt a little bit slow, but I feel like every time I started to feel like that, something brought me back. And I really like that in a mystery thriller horror book. So this book is a book where our main character goes to an academy. She is essentially homeschooled her entire life and then is sent to this academy. And when she gets there, another student has gone missing, and a lot of people are asking questions, the coincidences, those sorts of things. And also you sort of unravel how her story may be connected to the stories of this missing girl and the other characters that are already at the academy. So this was a really good book. If there's one thing that this author does well, it is discussing heavy topics in a genre that you wouldn't necessarily associate with heavy topics, at least in that more playful way. So I really enjoyed that. This definitely is a book that a lot of people who look like me might take at face value as just being a fun mystery thriller or whatever, but it absolutely deals with major topics like racism and colonialism and things like that. So I highly, highly recommend, and I encourage you to read it with, that lens of thinking, because that absolutely plays a role in the book, very much in the vein of Ace of Spades as well. So check both of them out, but Where Sleeping Girls Lie was my book recommendation for that one from the books that I've read so far this year. Alrighty, friends, I think we're going to do one more just for funsies, and then we're going to call it quits because my cats are starting to wallow out, and my son will be home from daycare soon. So last one. Please tell me I didn't pull two. Okay, let's see. Okay, a novella. Let's see what novellas I have on here. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I already talked about Devotion, which is the Mate Games novella. Love, 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 love. You know what technically counts as a novella? I think the like definition of a novella is a book under 200 pages. And you know what counts for that is Silver Fox by Kayla Gross. This is another Kayla Gross book. This one, it's in the title, Silver Fox, right? So we have an age gap romance. It is dad's best friend. It is plus size representation, spicy little summer fling kind of vibes. I really, really liked this one. It was good. I will say that in terms of her other books, I will always stand by the Cowboys of Nighthawk being my #1 series in terms of like depth and like thought out, just like really intentional writing. This one is a fun, fluffy novella. Don't go into it expecting that same level of stuff, but super good. Definitely a really great way to round out this list. So those are some recommendations of books that I read in 2024 based on my TBR jar. We're going to be saying goodbye to her in 2025. She's going to get a refresh in a jar that is not the size of my head. I hope you liked this video, friends. If you did, comment below. Maybe we can do a part 2 before we officially say goodbye to the jar. I will see you in the next one. Bye!